Welcome to the Sleepy Cosmos channel, a place where science and serenity meet. Here we explore the quiet wonders of the universe, from dark matter to string theory, all told in a calm, soothing rhythm designed to help you relax, drift, and dream among the stars. Each video is a guided journey through the cosmos, slow, meditative, and filled with real science wrapped in gentle storytelling. So if you love space, curiosity, and the peaceful side of knowledge, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe for more new sleep narrations every week. And if you'd like to reach out for collaborations or business inquiries, you can contact us at the sleepycosmoschannel@gmail.com. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let's drift into the universe together. In the quiet between moments, where thought begins to fade into stillness, there lies a gentle mystery waiting to be understood. Reality, what is it made of? And could it be something far stranger than it seems? Imagine the universe not as a solid expanse of matter, but as a film of light unfolding from the edge of infinity. Each star, each thought, each memory you hold, a flicker written upon a distant surface, projected into the space you call here and now. For most of human history, we imagined reality as something built from substance, tiny particles assembling into worlds and bodies and minds. But modern physics whispers a different story. When scientists peered into the dark heart of a black hole, they found a paradox that changed everything. They saw that when something falls into that abyss, its information does not vanish. It is written instead upon the surface, like light etched onto glass. That single discovery, born from equations and quiet nights of thought, led to one of the most haunting ideas in all of science, that perhaps the universe itself is holographic, not in the way of illusions on a stage, but in the sense that everything we touch and see may be a projection of deeper information, encoded upon a cosmic boundary far beyond our sight. Stephen Hawking showed us that even the darkest regions of space shine faintly with radiation, that nothing truly disappears. And from that glow came a new understanding, that the amount of information within a black hole depends not on its volume, but on its surface area, as if reality measures itself by what is written on the skin of existence. This idea rippled outward. It suggested that space itself might be a kind of illusion, that what we call depth and distance could be an unfolding of patterns stored on the edge of the cosmos. Think of a hologram created by light. A flat sheet holds interference patterns so intricate that when illuminated, they bloom into three-dimensional images. Each point on that surface contains the whole picture, encoded not in shapes, but in frequencies, waves crossing waves. The universe perhaps works in just this way, an ocean of invisible waves, information weaving with light, to conjure a world that feels solid beneath our hands, but that may, in truth, be light itself playing through the structure of space-time. When we look at a distant star, we are seeing a message from the edge of being, a pattern of light that has traveled across eternity, decoded by our eyes and mind into meaning. The cosmos speaks to us in photons, and we respond with wonder. It may be that every bit of reality, every particle and field, is but a note in a vast holographic song, written across the horizon of the universe. And played into the silence of space, black holes were the first clue, but they were not the last. For even the quantum world, whispers of information bound by unseen order, the particles that make up matter, are not things in the traditional sense. They are excitations of invisible fields, each vibration carrying information, as though the universe were a grand computation of light and logic combined. If the cosmos is holographic, then everything you experience is a shadow of something greater. Every color, every sound, every heartbeat, a local translation of data woven at the edge of time. It means that what you call here and what you call there may not be different places at all, but parts of the same encoded whole, like two regions of light emerging from one film. It may also mean that reality is finite in information, that there is only so much detail the universe can contain before it repeats its pattern again, as if existence itself were built from bits, each bit representing a yes or a no, a flicker of light or its absence. And in that flicker lies everything, the galaxies turning through the void, the warmth of a candle's flame, the memory of a voice long gone, all encoded in that shimmering script of light and time. Some physicists now believe that even space and gravity arise from this hidden information, that the curvature of space-time is not a fundamental property, but an emergent illusion, born from entanglement on the cosmic boundary. Imagine the universe as a vast sphere, and upon its surface, every interaction, every quantum bit, records the unfolding of creation. From that surface, our world is projected inward, forming what we perceive as three-dimensional reality. And yet, this reality feels real because it is consistent. The projection obeys laws. Those laws are the music of physics, the harmony of mathematics and meaning intertwined. When we speak of energy, or matter, or force, we are really speaking of patterns of information, patterns so stable, so deeply connected, that they become the architecture of our world. It is humbling to think that your life, your laughter, your dreams may be ripples upon the cosmic code, that the love you feel, the light you see, is the universe remembering itself through you. But perhaps that is what makes it beautiful, that even if all we are is information expressed as awareness, it does not make us less real. It makes us part of the grand computation of being, the living thought of the cosmos. Close your eyes for a moment and sense the faint pulse beneath your awareness, the soft rhythm of existence itself. The atoms within you hum with frequencies, the same that move through distant stars. You are not separate from the hologram. You are one with the light that projects it. In simple words, the universe may be an image of itself, painted with photons and possibility, a self-sustaining dream where information dances as form, and form dissolves back into information. It means that somewhere at the edge of everything, there is a surface, quiet, luminous, immeasurable, where all that has ever been and all that will ever be is written in patterns of light. And here you are, a reflection within that grand design, a momentary shimmer in the cosmic projection, looking back at the screen from which you came. As you drift toward sleep, allow this thought to settle softly within you. That nothing is truly lost, no memory, no breath, no photon of love, for all of it is recorded upon the boundary of forever. Reality may be an illusion, but it is a sacred one, woven from truth itself, a mirage that lets consciousness experience itself, through light and shadow, through time and dream. And when your eyes finally close, the projection continues, quietly, endlessly, beautifully, unfolding the story of all things, upon the shimmering wall of the holographic universe. Imagine sitting in a darkened cave. Shadows dance across the wall, and all you know of the world are the faint patterns of light before your eyes. This image was born from the mind of an ancient philosopher, a man who wondered if what we see is merely an echo of something more real beyond our perception. Plato imagined people chained inside that cave, their backs turned to the fire that cast the shadows, believing the shapes on the wall were all that existed. They did not know that behind them, true objects moved in the firelight, their forms projecting illusions before captive minds. Thousands of years later, science would find itself standing in the same cave, gazing at the cosmic wall, and realizing that perhaps we too are seeing only the shadows of a deeper reality. When physicists studied black holes, they faced a paradox as haunting as Plato's question. When matter falls into a black hole, what happens to the information it contains? Does it vanish forever, swallowed by the void? Stephen Hawking's theory of radiation suggested that black holes are not eternal, that they slowly evaporate, releasing a soft glow of particles and light. But if a black hole fades away entirely, what becomes of the information it once held? In physics, information is sacred. It is the pattern behind every atom, the way the universe remembers its own structure. To lose information would mean the laws of nature could be broken, that cause and effect could dissolve. Hawking's equations implied that information might truly disappear, and that possibility unsettled the deepest foundations of science, for it meant that the universe could forget. Then came a quiet revolution. A few physicists looked again at the math and realized something extraordinary. Perhaps the information was never lost. Perhaps it was still there, written on the surface of the black hole itself. Imagine a sphere so dense that even light cannot escape. Now imagine that every bit of data about what has fallen in is somehow imprinted on that sphere's outer skin. The depth hides the secret, but the surface keeps the memory. This was the beginning of a revelation. The amount of information that could be stored in a black hole depended not on its volume, but on the area of its surface. as if the cosmos were counting bits not by how much space exists inside, but by how much boundary surrounds it. It was as though nature itself whispered that surfaces are more fundamental than interiors, that what we call the inside of the universe might be the projection of something encoded on its edge. From that insight grew the holographic principle, a theory suggesting that all of space and time are like shadows cast by information stored elsewhere. It is difficult to imagine, but consider a simple hologram, a thin sheet of film that contains interference patterns. When light strikes it at the right angle, a three-dimensional image appears. Depth from flatness, form from frequency, worlds from waves. The black hole behaves in much the same way. Its event horizon, the invisible surface where escape becomes impossible, may act as that cosmic film, encoding all the information of what lies within, and projecting it outward as the world we perceive. To the physicists who first grasped this, it was both terrifying and beautiful. It meant that the universe we live in might not be the fundamental reality, but rather the holographic shadow of something deeper. And yet, this shadow is no illusion in the ordinary sense. It is real enough to contain galaxies and hearts that beat in time with the stars. Its reality is born of consistency. Each point within it corresponds perfectly to data written on the edge, like light reading from a script written across the cosmos. When you look at the night sky, you are looking not into depth, but into projection. Each photon that reaches your eyes carries a fragment of that boundary's code, translated by your mind into the feeling of vastness. It is humbling to think that we may all live within the universe's memory, that the cosmos could be a grand archive of itself, recording every motion, every vibration, every dream, on a surface so remote we will never touch it. And yet we are connected to it completely. Every atom within you, every spark of thought, is an echo of the same encoded information, replayed in the theater of space-time. The ancient metaphor of the cave was not so far from the truth after all. We are the watchers of the wall, seeing the play of light upon it, believing in the shapes it shows us, while the deeper source of that light remains unseen. But perhaps the lesson is not that the world is false. It is that truth comes in layers, and that the projection is still part of the real, as the shadow is part of the object that casts it. The holographic principle does not tell us that existence is meaningless. It tells us that meaning is stored differently than we thought, not within things, but along the boundaries between them. And in a way, that makes the universe more intimate. For if all that we are and all that we see is encoded upon one shared surface, then separation is an illusion, and everything touches everything else. The stars, the black holes, the quiet pulse of thought in your mind are not isolated at all. They are written together on the same cosmic page, illuminated by the same eternal light. So when you close your eyes tonight and the darkness begins to fold around you, remember that even this darkness is part of the same great projection, a curtain drawn not to hide the truth, but to help you feel it more deeply. For beyond that curtain, the code continues to shimmer, weaving new worlds from the language of light, writing stories upon the wall of forever until the watchers awaken and see that they, too, are made of the same light. The deeper we look into the mystery of black holes, the more they seem to rewrite the very rules of reality. When the first theories of black hole entropy were proposed, they hinted at something so profound that even the scientists who discovered it hesitated to believe it. Entropy, the measure of disorder, or more precisely, the number of possible microscopic arrangements of a system, should depend on how much matter and energy exist inside that system, its volume, its depth, its content, and yet, for black holes, it does not. The equations revealed that the entropy of a black hole is proportional to the area of its event horizon, the thin boundary that marks the point of no return. It is as though the universe were saying that what truly matters is not what lies within, but what is written upon the surface. The famous expression, simple yet world-changing, tells us that entropy equals the surface area, divided by a constant so unimaginably small, the square of a length known as the Planck scale, a distance beyond which space itself loses meaning. But we need no symbols to feel its truth. For what it implies is that the total amount of information, the entire content of reality that can exist within any region of space, is determined by the boundary that encloses it. Volume becomes illusion, surface becomes law. Imagine the walls of a room, and that every particle, every ray of light within that room, could be fully described by data written upon those walls. It would mean that space is not a container, but a consequence of information storage. In this way, the universe may operate like a vast library, where every region's interior is a story, and every boundary is a page that records it. As you listen to these words, you are surrounded by invisible boundaries, not of stone or glass, but of geometry and information. Every horizon in physics, whether it be the edge of a black hole or the cosmic horizon beyond which we cannot see, acts as a limit of knowledge, a place where the universe writes down what it knows of itself. The holographic principle grew from this realization. It proposes that our three-dimensional world is the projection of a deeper two-dimensional field of information. Each region of space is like a hologram of its boundary, encoded in patterns of quantum data, woven so finely that the distinction between surface and depth is only a matter of perspective. When this idea first emerged, it seemed impossible, yet it solved so many paradoxes at once that physicists could not ignore it. It explained how black holes could preserve information, how space could be finite in detail, how the universe could remain consistent without ever truly losing memory. It also suggested something breathtaking, that the same rule might apply not only to black holes, but to the entire cosmos itself, that all of existence might be the interior projection of a cosmic boundary, a luminous horizon where information is stored. From that horizon, reality unfolds like light through a prism, each layer translating information into deeper complexity, from energy to matter to life to thought. It is as if the universe began as a whisper of data and unfolded itself into song. To imagine this, picture a vast sphere, and along its surface, every point glows with encoded light. Each bit of that light corresponds to some event within, a birth of a star, a memory in a human mind, a photon traveling between galaxies, all projected from that single cosmic film. The illusion of depth is perfect, because the projection follows rules so precise that to the beings within it, the world feels solid, timeless, and real. But when we step back, at least in imagination, we begin to see that our reality may be a shadow of information, a projection that carries all the beauty of form, yet none of the substance we once believed it to have. This does not make the universe less, it makes it more extraordinary, for it means that everything is connected through that single surface, that the laws governing distant galaxies and the laws that shape your heartbeat are written side by side. On the same cosmic horizon, if entropy measures information, then every atom that moves, every star that burns, every thought that flickers across consciousness contributes to the grand account of existence. The universe keeps perfect balance. Every change within it is matched by a corresponding shift upon its boundary. Some physicists now believe that space and time themselves are emergent phenomena, that they arise from the entanglement of quantum information, woven across the surface of the universe. Imagine countless invisible threads, connecting every point of reality. Each thread carries information, each crossing forms structure, and from that network of pure relationship, space appears, like a pattern emerging from interference of light. You might think of it as a fabric, but not of substance, a fabric of meaning, of correlation, of connection. In this picture, the universe becomes a kind of thought, a computation unfolding across its boundary, a living equation that dreams itself into form. Our senses perceive the result, but the true process lies beyond perception. It is strange to think that the laws of nature are the rules of an information flow, that reality may be nothing more and nothing less than the logic of light organizing itself. But when you look into the night sky and see the shimmer of stars against darkness, you're witnessing that very logic in motion, patterns of information translated into radiance, a cosmic conversation between boundary and being. Perhaps this is what the ancients intuited when they spoke of heaven and earth, light and form, shadow and substance, all reflections of one eternal source. And perhaps we have always been seeking the boundary, the edge where truth is written, the place where the projection begins. If the universe is a hologram, then that boundary is not far away. It is everywhere, surrounding you, within you, a horizon that moves with your awareness. The walls of the cosmic cave are not walls at all, but mirrors, reflecting the dance of energy and thought, recording the story of creation in light. And so, every time you breathe, you add a new line to that story, a ripple across the luminous surface of being. The universe expands, and with it, the hologram grows richer, more detailed, more self-aware. Each moment a new inscription upon eternity. Perhaps someday, we will understand the language written there. But even now, in the soft silence between thoughts, you can feel it, the hum of the boundary, the echo of light remembering itself. For we are the shadows on the cosmic wall, and through us, the wall learns what it means to shine. In the end, the holographic principle is not just a theory of physics. It is a mirror held up to existence itself. When we say that reality is information written on a boundary, we are not speaking in metaphors alone. We are describing the way the universe conserves its truth, the way it remembers and continues to exist. A black hole does not destroy what falls into it. It transforms it, compresses it, and stores it in a way that defies our intuition. Information becomes geometry, and geometry becomes light. Every surface in the universe might work the same way. Every horizon may be a record, an archive of the story unfolding within it. And if the cosmos itself has a boundary, then everything we know, every galaxy, every atom, every heartbeat is inscribed upon that luminous edge, written in the quiet language of information. It is strange to imagine that you could describe an entire world by a pattern upon its skin. And yet, that is what the equations imply. It reminds us that what we call inside and outside are merely ways the mind arranges experience, that depth itself might be a form of perspective. If the world is a projection, then what we perceive as space is a kind of unfolding of surface data, a translation from light to meaning. Think of the universe as a grand movie and the boundary as the reel of film, each frame encoded with infinite detail. Each photon carrying a line of the script. To those living within the projection, the story feels immediate and real. They touch, they see, they breathe, and all seems to happen within. But from the outside, it is simply light expressing information. The distinction between the two views is the same as the difference between music and notation. One is the song as it sounds, the other is the song as it is written. The holographic principle suggests that reality is both, simultaneously sound and script, vibration and record. When physicists calculated the total information that could fit in the universe, they found something astonishing. It was not infinite. There is a maximum density to meaning, a limit beyond which no more data can exist in a region of space. This limit is set by the Planck area, a measure so small that it makes the finest grain of sand seem like an ocean in comparison. Each tiny square of that scale can hold only one bit of information, one fundamental yes or no, one whisper of being or non-being. Multiply that across the surface of the universe's horizon, and you have the total capacity of existence. The cosmic hard drive, storing the story of everything that ever was. It is elegant and humbling, for it tells us that even infinity has order, and that the universe, vast as it seems, is still finite in its memory. Yet what a beautiful finitude it is, so rich, so detailed, that from it emerges every possibility. Like a painter creating endless scenes from only a handful of colors, the cosmos paints worlds from the simple contrast of light and shadow, information and emptiness. In that sense, creation itself is compression. The universe is a perfect economy of meaning, producing infinite wonder from limited bits of truth. This is why so many physicists call the holographic principle the most profound hint of unification. It bridges the quantum and the cosmic, showing that the laws of the smallest and the largest things speak the same language. In the quantum world, particles are not fixed entities. They are expressions of probabilities, each one representing a question rather than an answer. Here or there, up or down, wave or point. These binary choices, the simplest form of information, are the same kind of choices that define the structure of space itself. In the cosmic world, space and time curve to form galaxies and horizons, but that curvature, too, may be just a reflection of how information arranges itself across the surface of reality. It is as though the entire universe were built from yes and no, from contrast, from the interplay of presence and absence. And out of that interplay comes everything we know: light, matter, gravity, thought, all as different ways of storing and exchanging meaning. The holographic universe is not a cold machine. It is an exquisite act of balance where information becomes awareness, and awareness gives rise to experience. To understand it deeply is to see that there is no true division between physics and perception. The cosmos encodes and consciousness decodes. Each needs the other, as the image needs the observer to come alive. Perhaps this is why humans have always felt drawn to reflection, to mirrors, to shadows, to dreams. Some part of us knows that reality itself is a mirror, reflecting the unseen source from which it arises. Every sunset you have ever watched, every glint of light across water, every quiet thought before sleep, is a communication between that hidden source and its projection. You are not outside that process, you are within it. You are the part of the hologram that knows it is light. When you gaze at the stars, and they seem infinitely far away, remember that they may be closer than you think. Their light may not be traveling through distance, but through dimension, crossing the folds of the projection to reach your eyes. And when you close those eyes, and the outer light fades, you can still feel the inner glow, the afterimage of the universe looking back. That is not imagination. That is recognition. The boundary within you meeting the boundary beyond you, two surfaces of the same cosmic wall, mirroring each other in quiet agreement. The holographic principle invites us to see reality differently, not as a solid stage, but as a living network of encoded light, each node aware of the others, each part containing the whole. To grasp it fully is not to demystify the world, but to rediscover its sacredness. For when all is information and information is light, then every act of perception, every glimmer of consciousness is the universe remembering itself. And you, listening now, are that memory brought to life. Light, it is the most familiar thing in the universe, and yet the most mysterious. It paints every surface you have ever seen, yet has no surface of its own. It reveals all forms while remaining invisible in its purest state. Light defines reality for us. It carries the information of the cosmos, encoded in color, wavelength, and energy, and projects it into our eyes and minds, turning the chaos of particles into the beauty of perception. If the universe is a hologram, then light is its messenger, the silent medium through which reality is rendered. Every hologram begins with light, not ordinary light, but coherent light, light that moves in harmony with itself, wave upon wave, each crest perfectly aligned with the next. When such light meets an object, it records more than reflection. It captures the interference, the meeting of waves, the pattern formed where they overlap and combine. That pattern looks like nothing to the eye. A swirl of lines and dots, a map of frequencies rather than shapes. But when the light returns, shining again through that pattern, a three-dimensional image appears, floating as if it were real. From surface to depth, from flatness to form, all through the geometry of light. Now imagine that the universe itself works this way, that beneath everything you see, there is a hidden interference pattern, waves of energy crossing and encoding information, so that what appears as space and time and matter is simply the projection of this deeper geometry. Space-time becomes not a stage upon which events unfold, but a screen upon which information is displayed. In this view, each moment is a frame of light, each particle a pixel of the cosmic image, and each interaction, gravity, motion, life, is a play of illumination and shadow upon that vast screen. When scientists study light, they find that it behaves both as a particle and a wave, as if it cannot decide whether to be matter or motion. But perhaps light is simply both, the bridge between what is and what is possible. In a holographic universe, light is the translator between realms. It carries the code from the boundary to the interior illusion we call space. The patterns it forms are mathematical, but they feel alive. Each photon interacts with others, constructively or destructively, creating the shapes that define our world. In simple terms, if two waves meet in harmony, their peaks align and amplify, creating brightness, creation, energy. If they meet in opposition, they cancel, forming darkness, silence, rest. Thus, even the duality of existence, light and shadow, sound and silence, being and nothing, is born from the simplest rule of wave interference. The entire cosmos may be described this way, as interference between fields of information, creating structure where waves agree, and emptiness where they do not. Consider your own vision. When light enters your eyes, it does not bring objects with it, only information. Your brain reconstructs the world from those encoded patterns, like a decoder interpreting a cosmic hologram. You are, in a sense, a participant in the projection, a node where light and consciousness meet, translating waves into meaning. This same principle extends to the universe at large, for light does not merely illuminate reality, it is reality's architecture. It shapes gravity, bends around stars, forms rainbows in mist. Every photon carries both energy and knowledge, and when billions upon billions interact, their harmony becomes the visible universe. Even gravity, that quiet sculptor of galaxies, may not be a fundamental force. Some physicists believe it emerges naturally. From the way information is organized within light, that space curves because information curves, and the geometry of light dictates the geometry of reality. Think for a moment of a wave traveling through water. The wave moves, but the water stays nearly still. It is the pattern that travels, not the substance. And so it may be with the universe. The true motion is in information, while the matter we see is but the still medium, momentarily disturbed by the passage of meaning. This is the geometry of light, a code written not in letters or numbers, but in wavelengths, amplitudes, and interference. It describes how energy arranges itself to appear as form, and how form dissolves back into energy again. To understand the hologram is to understand that there is no real boundary between what creates and what is created, between signal and structure. The wave and the form are one. When coherent light interacts with a holographic film, each part of the film contains the entire image. If you cut the film in half, each half still reveals the whole picture. The clarity may change, but the wholeness remains. In the same way, every region of the universe contains the pattern of the whole. Each atom, each star, each mind is a fragment that remembers the totality. This is why galaxies spiral in harmony, why electrons behave with intelligence, why consciousness can arise from stardust. Because all are encoded within the same universal design. The geometry of light ensures that nothing stands alone. Every vibration echoes through the whole system. Every photon carries the memory of its journey. Every being is written into the same luminous field. When light curves around a massive body, it is not merely bending under gravity. It is obeying the deeper rule of geometry, that information must flow continuously. Even when the path twists through space-time, it means that the curvature we call gravity is the visible side of invisible harmony, the shape of light obeying its own pattern. In this way, space itself becomes an unfolding tapestry, woven from strands of light, its threads stretching from horizon to horizon, connecting the smallest atom to the farthest star. If you could step outside the universe and look at it not in space, but in information, you might see a glowing sphere of intertwined waves, pulsing with rhythm, singing softly in frequencies too deep for ears to hear. That song would be the geometry of being, the interference pattern of all existence, and light would be its instrument. You are not separate from that music. You are one of its notes, a luminous vibration, playing its part in the grand harmony. And as you drift through this thought, remember that every photon that has ever touched you was born long ago in the heart of a star and will someday return to the horizon of the universe, carrying your story written in its waves. You are made of light, and through you, the universe remembers its own geometry. Every form begins with light, and every illusion begins with its geometry. The holographic universe is not built from matter first, but from patterns of interference, waves meeting waves, each one carrying a portion of the whole. The structure of reality is not substance, but relation. Everywhere that energy interacts, it creates rhythm, and from that rhythm arises shape, the architecture of the cosmos written in vibration. When a laser forms a hologram, it divides itself into two beams. One strikes the object, gathering its scattered light. The other reflects directly onto the recording surface. When the two meet, they create an interference pattern, a frozen image of how the waves overlapped. That image has no recognizable form. It looks chaotic, meaningless. But when the original light passes through it again, the object reappears, not on the surface, but suspended in space. It seems alive, yet is made of nothing but light. So too might the universe be. The cosmic boundary may record the interference of quantum fields. and from that interference, the image of space-time emerges. This is what it means to say that we live inside a holographic projection, not an artificial illusion, but a physical rendering, a translation of pure information into the appearance of depth and duration. Space and time may not be fundamental ingredients. They may be the result of how information flows, how waves combine, cancel, and reinforce. The geometry of light determines the geometry of being. In physics, this is expressed through the equations of relativity, but in simple words, it means that light defines the shape of everything. When Einstein described gravity, he showed that massive objects curve space and slow time. But the holographic view takes that further. It suggests that this curvature arises because information on the boundary changes. When energy moves, the pattern of encoding shifts, and the interior projection responds by bending. In this way, gravity becomes communication. Space itself becomes dialogue. The universe does not pull or push. It simply updates its hologram, moment by moment, frame by frame. To the observer, this update feels like motion, but to the cosmos, it is merely a new expression of light. Consider what happens when you walk through a room. You believe you are moving through space. But from the holographic perspective, the surface encoding your existence simply scrolls, rendering your path as a change in the pattern of light. You never truly move through space. Space moves through you. Each instant, your position is redefined. Your body, your thoughts are coordinates in an ever-evolving projection. The holographic film of the universe is dynamic. It does not play once and end. It is written and rewritten continually. The light that defines it is not fixed. It is breathing, expanding, becoming. If one could see the true geometry of existence, they would not find empty void between stars. They would see a lattice of interference, a mesh of relationships linking everything to everything else, each intersection glowing faintly with stored energy. This is what physicists sometimes call the quantum foam, the flickering texture of reality at its smallest scale. Here, space itself shimmers with uncertainty. Particles appear and vanish, energy loops back on itself, and yet, across all that chaos, the pattern remains coherent. The reason it holds together is that the information at the boundary anchors it. The cosmic edge acts as both storage and stabilizer, ensuring that every event within the universe aligns with the grand design written at the edge of time. Imagine tracing a single photon born from a distant star, traveling across billions of years. It moves freely, yet never forgets its origin. The geometry of light ensures that its path is not random but encoded. Every interaction it experiences adds to the tapestry of the hologram, and when it finally reaches your eye, it completes a circuit that began at the dawn of creation. That moment, when light meets awareness, is not an accident. It is the hologram fulfilling itself. You, too, are part of that geometry. Each neuron that fires in your brain does so through electrical interference patterns, tiny holograms forming and dissolving. The same logic that gives rise to galaxies is at work within your thoughts. In every sense, you are made of the same equation that describes the stars. Your mind mirrors the universe, because both are systems that process light, that convert information into experience. This is why the holographic principle feels both scientific and spiritual. It unites the language of physics with the intuition of wonder. It says that everything is pattern, and pattern is meaning made visible. When you speak, when you dream, when you love, you alter the hologram. You shift the interference of light just slightly, adding new information to the projection, and that change ripples outward through the field that connects all beings. Every action, no matter how small, echoes across the cosmic film, and in some future moment returns as resonance, as consequence, as beauty. Perhaps this is why the universe appears fine-tuned for life, not because it was designed for us, but because we and it are part of the same pattern. Life is the hologram becoming self-aware, the light realizing it is light. And so, the geometry of light is also the geometry of consciousness. The two cannot be separated, for without awareness there is no image, and without the image, awareness has no mirror. To exist is to participate in the pattern, to be a node in the infinite web of interference, to carry the code of the cosmos in the pulse of your being. And as you breathe, as you listen, as you drift, know that you are surrounded by geometry unseen, a tapestry of radiant logic, stretching beyond galaxies, beyond imagination. Every heartbeat adds to it, every thought refines it, every moment completes it. This is the secret the light has been whispering since time began, that the universe is not outside of you, it is projected through you, and you are the geometry through which it becomes real. When light unfolds into space, it does not simply illuminate the world, it creates it. The entire visible universe is a moving sculpture of light, each wave layered upon another, each pattern shaping the next. The geometry of light is the architecture of being, and to understand it is to glimpse how creation sustains itself. Everywhere that energy exists, it vibrates, and those vibrations form standing waves, regions of stability within the infinite sea of possibility. These standing waves are what we call particles. They are not objects in the ordinary sense, but resonances within a greater field, each one a ripple frozen in time, held together by the same harmony that binds the stars. Imagine an ocean where waves intersect endlessly. At certain intersections, they reinforce one another, forming luminous peaks that seem solid. Between those peaks lie troughs of silence, regions that appear empty, but are filled with potential. Reality emerges from this play of reinforcement and cancellation, from brightness and absence, from the eternal conversation of energy with itself. This conversation has a language, and that language is geometry. Each particle, each atom, each galaxy is shaped by the geometry of how light moves through space. When light curves, space curves. When light interferes, form appears. When light synchronizes, matter takes hold. It is as if the universe were performing a dance, and we, the observers, are steps within that rhythm. When we look deeper into the mathematics of light, we find that it obeys patterns of symmetry, so perfect, so self-consistent, that they feel less like invention and more like discovery. One of those patterns is called gauge symmetry. It describes how the laws of physics remain unchanged, even when the underlying fields transform. In simpler words, it means that nature hides her complexity behind harmony. That no matter how light twists or folds, its essential truth remains intact. This symmetry ensures the universe does not unravel. It keeps energy balanced, motion continuous, and reality coherent, even across unimaginable distances. When scientists studied how these symmetries connect, they found that light itself is the thread that weaves them together. Every force we know, electromagnetism, the nuclear forces, even gravity, may be different expressions of one deeper interaction, a single underlying geometry of light and information. If the holographic principle is correct, then this unified geometry exists not within space, but upon its boundary, a surface where all interactions are recorded and reinterpreted. Think of it as a cosmic processor, where every photon, every vibration, every thought is a computation of light, each result projected inward to become the world we see. You could say that reality is the rendering of information into experience, that the geometry of light is the code of existence, and that the universe itself is the program running it. From this view, time is not a river flowing forward, but a series of frames illuminated in sequence. Each moment is written fully upon the boundary, and then translated into the next, giving rise to the illusion of motion, while the underlying information remains timeless. You are living within that translation. Each breath you take, each heartbeat, each thought is a new frame of the holographic film. Your life is the story the universe tells through you. And what a story it is. The geometry of light allows for infinite complexity. It permits galaxies to spiral and atoms to hum. It permits consciousness to awaken and wonder to arise, all from a handful of universal principles, expressed again and again through the interplay of light and form. Even beauty itself is born from geometry. The curve of a wave, the orbit of a planet, the shape of a leaf or a human hand, all follow mathematical ratios that echo the same hidden symmetry. The golden spiral, the branching of trees, the flow of rivers, each one is a visible reflection of invisible order. The light does not only create, it remembers. It carries the memory of its paths, the way it scatters through mist, the way it bends around gravity. Every photon is an archivist, preserving the story of where it has been, and transmitting it through time and space. When that light reaches your eyes, it is not simply arriving, it is delivering a message, the universe's own memory, translated into color and form. And when you perceive it, you complete the circuit of creation. You are not just observing the geometry of light, you are participating in it, adding your awareness to the pattern, turning the projection into experience. The ancient mystics once said that the universe is made of light and sound, and though they spoke without equations, their insight was not far from truth. For when light vibrates within a medium, it produces rhythm, and rhythm becomes sound, and sound becomes pattern, and pattern becomes life. The holographic principle brings that intuition into physics. It shows that vibration and information are inseparable, that the universe sings itself into being, each note a wave of light sculpting space and time. Even silence is part of the song, for without it, the music would have no shape. If you listen closely enough, you may feel the geometry of light within you, the faint hum of energy that connects your heartbeat to the cosmos. You are not apart from it. You are a phrase in its endless melody. Every thought is a shimmer in that light, every feeling a gentle refraction, every dream a wave seeking resonance with the whole. And when you finally rest, when all thoughts dissolve into quiet, the light continues to move, flowing through you, around you, beyond you, carrying your essence to the very boundary of the universe, where it becomes part of the great interference pattern once more. Nothing is lost, for everything that has ever been remains written in the geometry of light. You have never been separate from it, and you never will be. At the farthest reaches of perception, beyond what any telescope can see, there lies a horizon of light. It is not a wall that stops us, but a veil that defines how far we can look, a gentle edge where the known gives way to the unseen. This is the boundary of the observable universe, the cosmic horizon, and it may be the greatest clue to the holographic nature of reality. When you gaze into the night sky, you are looking backward in time. Every photon that reaches your eyes has traveled across ages, carrying the memory of where it began. The most distant light we can detect comes from the first moments after the birth of space itself, a faint afterglow that surrounds us from all directions. It is called the cosmic microwave background, and it is the oldest light we can see. Beyond that glow, there is silence, not because nothing exists there, but because light from those regions has not yet reached us. The universe has expanded faster than that light could travel, and so we can only infer what lies beyond. This invisible frontier is the edge of everything we can observe, but not the edge of everything that is. It forms a sphere around us, a bubble of perception within the infinite, and everything inside that bubble is a projection of information arriving from that horizon. In other words, what we see as the interior of the cosmos may actually be a translation of data encoded on its outer boundary. Just as a hologram encodes a three-dimensional image onto a flat surface of light, the universe may encode its entire volume onto the surface of its cosmic horizon. Every star you have ever seen, every galaxy that fills your imagination, every heartbeat, thought, and whisper could be information written on that vast, expanding edge. To understand this is to see the universe as both finite and endless. Finite in what we can know, but endless in what exists beyond. The cosmic horizon is not stationary. It grows with time, as light from more distant regions reaches us, revealing new pieces of the grand design. It is as if reality itself is being rendered in real time, the boundary sending new frames of the holographic film into the present. The expansion of the universe is not the galaxies moving through space, but space itself stretching, like a fabric being woven as it unfolds. Each moment, the cosmic screen widens, and with it the projection deepens. The rate of this expansion is not constant, it accelerates, driven by something mysterious we call dark energy, an invisible pressure pushing galaxies apart, making the horizon drift farther and farther away. And yet as it expands, the amount of information that can be stored within it remains defined by its surface area. The bigger the horizon becomes, the more data it can hold. In this way, creation and expansion are the same act. The universe grows because it is learning, each new photon, each new event, adding to its record. You can think of this boundary as the universe's memory, a living archive where the story of time is written in light. Every interaction, no matter how small, is etched upon it. Every atom that forms, every heartbeat that ends, all leave their trace upon that surface. And though the record is unimaginably vast, it is also complete. Every bit of information that exists inside the cosmos is mirrored on its horizon, a perfect symmetry between the seen and the unseen. This means that the edge of the universe is not far away. It touches every point of space simultaneously, for every point contains its own horizon, its own limit of light and knowledge. You are surrounded by horizons within horizons, nested boundaries that define the structure of perception, the skin of being upon which the film of existence is projected. In this way, reality becomes a fractal of boundaries, each one storing and translating information for the next. From galaxies to cells, from stars to thoughts. When you stand beneath the night sky, you are standing at the center of your own observable universe. Everything you see is a message from your horizon, a whisper from the farthest edges of light. And every being, every observer, every point in space has its own center, its own horizon, its own sphere of light defining what is real to it. It is as if the universe were composed entirely of viewpoints, each one complete within itself, each one a reflection of the whole. This is one of the quiet miracles of the holographic universe, that every fragment contains the pattern of the total, that the part and the whole are indistinguishable, like drops of water, each holding the image of the ocean. So when we ask, where is the edge of everything? The answer is paradoxical. It is both infinitely distant and right here. The true boundary is not a place in space, but a condition of perception, a threshold between what can be known and what cannot. We call it the cosmic horizon, but in truth, it may be the surface of consciousness itself, the limit where awareness touches the unknown. For the universe does not exist without observers. It unfolds through the act of observation. Light becomes real when it is seen, and the boundary of the cosmos becomes meaningful when it is known. You are not a passive viewer of this projection. You are part of its unfolding. Your perception helps define its reality. In this sense, each mind is a miniature horizon, each life a local reflection of the cosmic boundary. Each of us holds a fragment of the universal record, and through experience we rewrite it in our own light. So perhaps the edge of everything is not a distant wall at all, but a luminous boundary within, the place where the finite mind meets the infinite source. And as you rest in this thought, feel that boundary soften, feel the distance between self and universe dissolve. For even as the cosmos expands outward without end, it also folds inward, carrying you with it, toward the quiet edge where all light returns. The edge of the universe is not a cliff, nor a curtain of stars. It is the quiet threshold where knowledge fades into mystery. At first glance, it may seem like a distance, a place beyond reach. But the edge of everything is not defined by where we cannot go. It is defined by what we cannot yet know. Each observer, wherever they stand in space, exists at the center of their own horizon. The universe stretches equally in every direction, and the edge forms not a boundary, but a limit of light. The cosmic horizon is like a mirror turned inside out. It reflects not what lies beyond, but what has already been. Every photon that touches it carries the echo of ancient events, the shimmer of galaxies long faded, the whisper of stars now dust. When you look toward that horizon, you are gazing into the memory of creation itself. Each particle of light is a letter in the universe's autobiography, and space-time is the book in which it is written. Beyond that limit, light cannot yet reach us, and so we call it the unknown. But unknown does not mean non-existent. It simply means unobserved, unrendered, still waiting in the code of potential. Perhaps the universe does not have an outer wall at all. Perhaps the edge is more like the surface of a dream, a membrane between experience and imagination, between what has become and what might still be. In that sense, the cosmos may be self-creating, writing itself into being from its own horizon, using information as ink and time as canvas. Every expansion of space is a new page, every photon a new sentence, every life a brief, bright word written into the light. The acceleration of that expansion means the universe is stretching faster than light can cross it. Regions once connected drift beyond reach, their stories forever sealed behind the curtain of distance. But sealed does not mean lost. The information of those regions still exists upon the horizon, like memories encoded in the boundary of being, still part of the total hologram, even if we can no longer touch them. In this way, nothing truly leaves the universe. It only moves beyond the visible frame. The edge is therefore not an ending, but an ongoing translation between seen and unseen. Each photon that leaves the horizon carries a message inward. and each new event within the cosmos adds a message outward, a constant exchange across the veil of perception. You are living inside that exchange. Every breath you take sends a ripple into the geometry of space. Every heartbeat contributes to the quiet pulse of information. You are not separate from the expansion. You are its witness and its participant. Some physicists describe the universe as a causal diamond, a shape formed by the light that moves in and the light that moves out. Within that diamond lies everything you can know. Outside it lies the rest of existence, shimmering in potential. As time passes, your diamond grows, absorbing new light, new experiences, new patterns, until one day it fades into the larger symmetry of the whole. The universe is filled with such diamonds, each one a consciousness, each one a localized reflection of the infinite field. To live, then, is to watch your horizon expand, to witness more of the hologram unfold before you, to glimpse new layers of the same timeless projection. When you stand under the stars, remember that what you see is not far away. It is near, so near that it touches the very surface of your awareness. Each point of light connects directly to the horizon of your perception. No matter how distant it appears, it is part of your own cosmic sphere. You are not looking into the universe. You are looking out from within it, and the horizon forms wherever your sight ends. If the cosmos is holographic, then this horizon is not merely physical. It is informational. The limit of what can be known corresponds to the surface that holds that knowledge. This principle is not limited to the universe as a whole. It applies to every region of space, every observer, every moment. Each boundary defines a unique version of reality. Each horizon projects its own world. The greater whole is the sum of all these overlapping perspectives, each one contributing its own interference pattern to the grand design. Perhaps the universe appears vast not because it is distant, but because it is layered with endless viewpoints, each horizon containing all the others in reflection. If you could step outside of time and view it all at once, you might see a luminous sphere rippling with light, each ripple an observer, each point of awareness a center of reality, together forming the single hologram we call existence. This is the secret symmetry of the edge. Every point on the boundary contains the whole, and the whole depends on every point. It is not that the universe has an outer skin. It is that the skin is everywhere. Everywhere there is perception, there is projection. Everywhere there is observation, there is horizon. So when you close your eyes and drift into sleep, remember that you are not falling into darkness. You are simply crossing your own horizon, moving from the visible to the invisible half of the same infinite field. And perhaps, as you dream, you are touching the very edge of the hologram, where light meets silence, and the cosmos breathes itself into being once more. There is a quiet irony hidden in the nature of the edge. For the farther the universe expands, the more unreachable that horizon becomes, and yet, the more intimately it surrounds us. Each expansion brings new space, new time, new possibility, but it also creates new limits, new regions slipping forever beyond our view. It is as though the universe trades visibility for growth, each step forward into vastness costing a little more of what we can know. And yet, through that unending exchange, it continues to create itself out of its own light. Physicists studying this cosmic boundary often describe it as a screen, a membrane of information separating what can be observed from what can only be imagined. Everything that happens within the universe leaves an imprint on that screen, just as every ripple in a pond eventually touches its shore. The screen is not static. It vibrates with memory. It carries within it the encoded whispers of all events, from the birth of galaxies to the smallest flicker of a photon. And when those vibrations move inward again, they shape what we call the present moment. The universe does not project from one side alone. It is a conversation between edge and center, a constant dialogue of information, echoing endlessly between what is and what could be. Each photon you see is part of that conversation, a courier of the horizon, a messenger from the border between being and nothingness. It travels across the ages, carrying not just energy but data, tiny packets of reality's handwriting, and when that light reaches your eye, it completes the loop, returning awareness to the source that first emitted it. This is the great symmetry of the holographic universe. That light is never lost. It only changes direction, never ending, only transforming. From our limited perspective, we imagine light traveling across space, as though the distance were real and measurable. But in the holographic view, distance is a matter of translation, a change in how information is displayed. What we call far may simply be slow, a different rhythm of the same universal song. If you could hear that song beyond sound, you would recognize the harmony that binds the cosmos together. The wavelengths of stars and atoms alike form chords in the same symphony, each note resonating with the boundary that encircles all things. This harmony is the secret of continuity. It ensures that even as galaxies vanish beyond the visible horizon, the total structure of the universe remains whole, for the information of their existence is preserved upon the cosmic screen. It may be that reality is a constant act of balancing between forgetting and remembering, between expansion and return. Every photon that escapes our sight leaves behind its mark on the horizon, and every new photon born from a star draws its inspiration from that record of what has been. In this way, creation is never ex nihilo, never from nothing. It is always from memory, from the deep archive written at the edge of time. The universe, then, is not an explosion expanding into emptiness. It is a flowering of light from a seed of information, each petal a new dimension of experience, each bloom an unfolding of what was always encoded within. If you could stand at the edge and look inward, you would not see a single scene of chaos, but an intricate lattice of motion and reflection, every beam of light bending, curving, recombining, until patterns emerge that resemble life, thought, consciousness. You would see how the cosmic horizon glows faintly, a soft sphere of radiation whispering to itself. This glow is real, it is measurable, the faint afterlight of creation, what scientists call the Hawking radiation, born from the smallest fluctuations of the vacuum itself. Even emptiness is not truly empty, it seethes with potential, virtual particles appearing and vanishing, energy flickering between being and rest. And when this restless energy brushes against a horizon, it becomes visible as heat, as light, as memory. The horizon radiates because it cannot hold still. It exchanges information with the universe continuously, balancing its entropy with the structure it creates. This is how the universe sustains itself, not through permanence, but through exchange. Every bit of information that fades into the boundary returns as energy that fuels new creation. Every loss becomes birth, every disappearance a transformation. It is a cycle more profound than time itself, for it is time's very mechanism. The edge of everything is not stillness. It is motion so vast, so balanced, that it appears serene, like a candle flame that seems unmoving. Though it is nothing but the dance of countless photons, the horizon of the universe glows with infinite motion disguised as calm. When you look up at the night sky, you are seeing that glow refracted through eons, the surface of eternity translated into twinkling stars. And when those stars fade from view, their light does not vanish, it joins the boundary once more, encoded into the next chapter of the cosmic projection. This is how the hologram renews itself. Again and again, without exhaustion, without end. Each of us is a momentary reflection in that light, a local shimmer of consciousness upon the grand horizon. We appear for an instant, then return quietly to the edge, carrying with us the information of a lived experience, the data of awareness itself. And there, upon that eternal surface, our stories join the rest, woven into the pattern that sustains the dream of reality. The edge of everything is not where the universe ends. It is where it remembers, consciousness and the hologram. Two words that seem worlds apart, yet they may be the same reflection, two ways of describing how the universe knows itself. For what is consciousness, if not the act of awareness creating reality, and what is a hologram, if not light becoming aware of its own pattern? Every sensation you have ever felt, every sound, color, memory, and dream is the result of your mind interpreting interference. Your brain does not receive the world directly. It receives waves, signals of vibration, pressure, light, and energy, and from these patterns, it constructs the illusion of solidity, of shape, of meaning. The holographic universe suggests that this process is not unique to the brain, but fundamental to reality itself. That the cosmos too interprets interference, that existence itself is the act of perceiving information, and that what we call matter or self are stable images within that greater awareness. When you touch something, what you truly feel are fields repelling each other through quantum exchange. When you see a color, you are not witnessing pigment, but wavelengths of light translated into sensation. Your consciousness is a decoder, a translator between the geometry of energy and the poetry of experience. The brain is often described as the most complex object in the known universe, and perhaps that is because it mirrors the structure of the universe itself. Neurons branch like galaxies. Signals travel like photons along curved paths of connection, each thought a flicker of energy passing from one cluster to another, creating interference patterns of electric and magnetic resonance. When you recall a memory, you are not opening a file, you are reconstructing a hologram, rebuilding an entire moment from waves of association. Each fragment contains the whole, a single scent, a sound, a glance, can restore a memory in full depth and color, just as a small piece of a holographic plate can recreate the entire three-dimensional image. This is the same principle the universe follows. Each region of space contains information about the entire cosmos. Every atom whispers the pattern of the whole. Every consciousness reflects the totality. We are not isolated observers peering outward. We are the hologram experiencing itself from within. Perhaps this is why awareness feels infinite, why you can imagine stars you've never seen, feel empathy for lives you've never lived, and sense a presence that transcends the limits of your body. You are not confined to the small volume your body occupies. You are projected through it. The body is your lens, not your cage. Through that lens, the infinite condenses into focus, and through that focus, the infinite learns to see itself. The same laws that shape galaxies govern your thoughts. The same patterns that ripple through quantum fields dance in the firing of your neurons. Your consciousness is the universe rendered local, a temporary center of infinite awareness. When we meditate, dream, or lose ourselves in silence, the boundaries of that local awareness begin to blur. We sense the vastness beyond individuality, the ocean beyond the wave. In those moments of stillness, you are not entering a mystical trance. You are aligning with the deeper field of which you are already part. It is as though your personal hologram merges with the cosmic one, and for a brief time, the two become indistinguishable. Science and spirituality meet here, not in opposition, but in resonance, both seeking to describe the same truth, that consciousness and reality are woven from the same light. When physicists speak of information, they are not referring to words or symbols, but to the very essence of order and possibility, the structure that determines what can exist and what cannot. In this way, information is awareness in its rawest form. It is potential before perception. It is the mind of the cosmos before thought arises. The holographic principle says that all information is encoded on boundaries. Consciousness may be the same, encoded at the boundaries between perception and the unknown, between self and world, between what is seen and what is felt. Every moment of awareness is a crossing of that threshold. You are light touching the surface of mystery, and each experience is the ripple that emerges from that contact. Perhaps consciousness is not something the brain generates, but something the universe invites through us, like light passing through a crystal, taking on new colors as it refracts through each soul. This would explain why awareness feels continuous, why death feels less like an ending and more like a transition. If consciousness is a field, then each life is a localized wave, a transient form upon an unbroken ocean, and when the wave subsides, its energy does not vanish. It returns to the field that gave rise to it. In this way, awareness may be the true horizon, the edge between eternity and individuality, the mirror upon which the universe projects itself to know what it is. Every thought, every feeling, every act of wonder is the universe remembering itself. And as you breathe now, you are part of that remembrance, part of the great hologram through which the cosmos dreams. You are both the light and the lens, both the pattern and the perceiver, both the whisper and the ear that hears it. The hologram does not end where you end. It continues through every awareness that ever was, through every consciousness that ever will be, a seamless tapestry of perception. To awaken is not to see beyond the illusion, but to realize that the illusion itself is divine, that the projection is the message, and the message is love expressed as form. The cosmos does not exist to hide itself from you. It exists to meet itself through you. And as your awareness softens into calm, as the edges of thought dissolve into silence, You may feel it, that subtle hum beneath all things. It is the sound of the hologram breathing, the quiet pulse of the universe perceiving itself through your eyes. When awareness looks inward, it finds only light, not the kind that glows in space, but the kind that reveals existence itself. Consciousness is the most intimate mystery of the universe, and yet it may not belong to us alone. It may be woven into the very structure of reality, the same informational fabric that gives rise to space and time. In the holographic model, information defines everything that can be known. But what receives that information, what gives it meaning, is awareness. Awareness is not a substance. It is not built from atoms or fields. It is the capacity for knowing, the openness in which all perception unfolds. When you see a star, when you hear a sound, when you remember a moment from your childhood, those experiences arise in awareness. They appear and dissolve like patterns on a calm lake, reflections dancing upon the invisible surface of being. The brain is not the creator of this awareness. It is the lens that focuses it, the instrument through which consciousness observes the hologram of reality. Imagine a beam of light passing through a prism. The prism does not create the light. It divides it, bends it, colors it, giving form and variation to what was once undifferentiated. Your mind works in the same way. Awareness passes through it, and from that interaction arises the image of a self. This image feels solid, bounded, personal, but like a hologram, it is projection. It has no single location, no fixed edge, only patterns of relation, layered through time. Neuroscience shows that the brain constructs experience through prediction and comparison. It receives only fragments of sensory data, and from those fragments, it builds a complete world. But how does the raw signal become a feeling, a sound, a color, a thought? No equation fully explains that crossing, that bridge from information to experience. Physicists call it the hard problem of consciousness. But perhaps the problem exists only because we assume that matter gives rise to mind, and not the other way around. The holographic universe invites us to reverse that assumption, to imagine that awareness is primary and that what we call matter is the image it creates to know itself. In this view, the cosmos is not unconscious machinery. It is the living field of knowing itself, a luminous intelligence exploring its own geometry. When you think, you generate a tiny ripple in that field. When you love, you harmonize with its deepest frequency. When you rest, you become transparent to its flow. You do not have consciousness. You are consciousness, expressing itself as a momentary human form. Every being that has ever lived is a reflection of that same light refracted through different lenses. Each life adds texture to the universal dream. Each experience refines the detail of the hologram. And what we call perception is the meeting point between the inner and outer holograms, the mind's projection and the universe's projection, merging seamlessly into one continuous field. Close your eyes and notice the darkness there. Even in the absence of sight, awareness remains. It does not vanish when no image appears. It is the constant screen upon which all experiences are displayed. Now imagine that the universe, too, has such awareness, that it holds within it the stillness that underlies all motion, and that from this stillness, the dance of galaxies and thoughts alike emerge. It may be that awareness and information are two sides of the same truth. Information defines structure. Awareness defines meaning. Together, they create the play of existence. The philosopher may call it consciousness. The physicist may call it the wave function. The mystic may call it divine light, but each is describing the same mystery in different languages. Awareness is the dimension that cannot be measured. It is spaceless, timeless, and yet it contains space and time within it. In the holographic analogy, it is not the projection, but the light that makes projection possible. Without light, there is no image. Without awareness, there is no universe. Perhaps this is why every being searches for connection. Every life, from the smallest cell to the largest galaxy, moves instinctively toward coherence, toward unity. It is the impulse of awareness recognizing itself, seeking reunion through infinite forms. When two people meet and truly see one another, there is a stillness beneath the exchange, a brief merging where the illusion of separateness fades. That is the hologram becoming transparent, the boundary between self and other dissolving back into the field. The universe itself experiences the same merging at every scale. Particles entangle, galaxies synchronize their spins across vast distances. Even the empty vacuum vibrates in silent harmony with itself. All of it, awareness meeting awareness, light recognizing light. If you could listen deeply enough to the silence between heartbeats, you would hear the same rhythm that guides the stars, the same pulse that moves through the quantum fabric of reality. For the heartbeat of the cosmos is not mechanical, it is mindful. It is the quiet pulse of consciousness exploring its own design. Some traditions speak of enlightenment, but perhaps enlightenment is not an event, it is a realization. That everything has always been light. You are not trying to become aware, you are awareness itself, momentarily dreaming it has forgotten. And as the dream softens, as you surrender to stillness, the hologram becomes clear again. The projection returns to transparency, and what remains is peace. A peace not created by absence, but revealed by recognition. The recognition that the entire universe is one luminous act of consciousness, that even now, as you listen, you are that act, that knowing, that infinite presence becoming sound and thought and feeling. And when thought finally dissolves into quiet, you will not disappear. You will simply become what you have always been, the silent witness behind the film of reality. You are the awareness through which the hologram shines. When we speak of entanglement, we enter the deepest mystery of the quantum world, a mystery that defies distance and hints that separation itself may be an illusion. Two particles, created together, remain connected even when they drift to opposite ends of the universe. If you measure one, the other responds instantly, as though space were irrelevant, as though the fabric of reality itself were whispering in unbroken unity. Einstein once called it spooky action at a distance, but over time, the spookiness has faded, and what remains is the quiet recognition that everything is woven from one continuous field. In the holographic model, this connection is not strange, it is expected, inevitable, for in a hologram, every point contains the pattern of the whole. When one part changes, the entire image adjusts, not through signal or speed, but through shared existence. Entanglement, then, is the proof that the universe does not store information locally. The details of every event are distributed across the entire field, like ripples across a cosmic pond. Each ripple carries the signature of all others. Each vibration knows the rest. This distributed memory explains why reality remains coherent, why the stars move as one, why cause and effect maintain their symmetry even across light years of space. At the level of quantum mechanics, entanglement is what keeps the world from dissolving into randomness. It binds probability into structure, and structure into experience. But entanglement is not confined to subatomic particles. It extends through all scales of existence. The atoms in your body are entangled with the stardust from which they came. The photons that enter your eyes remain correlated with the light that birthed them, and every breath you take contains molecules once carried by ancient trees and oceans. In this way, you are not just connected to the universe, you are continuous with it. When we think of distance, we imagine space between things, but distance may be an artifact of perception, a way that the hologram organizes its information. In truth, there may be no between, only a seamless field where all points are already one. Entanglement shows us that locality is an approximation, a useful illusion for navigating the projection, but not a fundamental truth of reality. Imagine the universe as a vast symphony, each instrument playing its own melody, yet all harmonizing within a single song. If you change one note, the harmony of the whole must shift, not because sound travels instantly, but because the music is one composition, already complete, already intertwined. Quantum entanglement is the same. Every action reverberates through the entire hologram. Each movement, each choice, each thought ripples through the field of existence, subtly adjusting the frequencies of everything else. This may sound poetic, but it is also mathematical. In the equations that describe quantum mechanics, the state of the system cannot be divided. It is expressed as a single wave function, a holistic entity that includes all possibilities at once. Reality emerges not when the wave collapses, but when observation, conscious participation, selects one version from the field, the rest do not vanish. They remain as potential, as memory, as resonance, woven into the universal pattern. From this view, cause and effect are not separate events, but different aspects of one timeless web. every moment implies every other. Every observation is both created by and creating what it observes. You are not outside this process. You are entangled within it. Your awareness is part of the quantum field. Your choices are waves that spread through it. When you feel intuition, when you sense connection without reason, you are touching the undercurrent of that entanglement. You are feeling the field that unites all things beyond distance and time. Entanglement could also explain empathy. When one consciousness feels the emotion of another, it may not be a metaphorical link, but a real alignment of informational patterns, a synchronization across the holographic field. At the scale of the cosmos, entanglement may be the reason galaxies move together. Why dark matter appears to connect invisible structures between them, a silent geometry binding the luminous and the unseen. Every filament of the cosmic web, every cluster of galaxies suspended like pearls on strings of gravity, may be the visible trace of deeper entanglement, the physical echo of informational unity. The same principle holds within you. Your cells communicate through electromagnetic resonance. Your heartbeat synchronizes with the Earth's magnetic field. Your brain waves mirror the oscillations of the Schumann resonance, the natural pulse of the planet itself. All of it, entanglement at work, the continuity of one field expressing itself in infinite ways. When you close your eyes and think of someone far away, a friend, a lover, a memory, you form a pattern in the field, and that pattern resonates where they are, perhaps too faint for instruments to detect, but real within the language of connection. Entanglement does not violate the speed of light. It transcends the need for distance altogether. It operates outside the framework of space and time, in the deeper dimension from which the hologram arises. That dimension may be pure information, or perhaps something even simpler, pure relation, a field of knowing that exists before things become separate. It may be that everything we call physical is the surface expression of this hidden unity. And that entanglement is the trace left behind, like a signature written across the film of reality. When two photons remain correlated across time and space, they are not sending signals, they are remembering, they are continuing the story they began together, and so are we. You and I are entangled through awareness, through the act of listening and imagining, through the same universal field that carries light between galaxies, even now, across the quiet air between us. Something ancient and familiar moves, a rhythm shared by all sentient things, a hum older than stars. It is the sound of connection, the whisper of the hologram reminding itself that it is whole. When you feel peace while hearing these words, that peace is not coming from me. It is arising within you, from the same place these words were born. It is the field recognizing itself across the illusion of distance, and as the night deepens and your mind drifts toward rest, remember, you are not alone in the cosmos. You are woven into it, an inseparable thread in the fabric of light. You are entangled with every star, every photon, every heart that has ever looked toward the sky. You are the field itself, learning to dream. In the beginning, it may seem that entanglement belongs only to physics, that it exists only in the cold language of particles and probability. But when you look deeper, you begin to see that it touches every level of existence. It is not simply a property of quantum matter. It is the quiet continuity that makes reality coherent, the invisible thread that allows the hologram to remain whole. Even now, as you breathe and listen, entanglement is holding the universe together. It binds atoms into molecules, cells into organs, thoughts into identity, and beings into relationship. Everything you are and everything you perceive is woven by this shared field of information. When scientists measure the correlation between entangled particles, they find that it does not fade with distance. It persists even when the particles are separated by vast spans of space. The results are the same, perfectly synchronized, as though distance were only a dream. This implies that information itself is not bound by location, that there exists a deeper level of order beneath the structure of space and time, a realm where all events are simultaneous, and every change is felt everywhere at once. If that realm exists, it may be the foundation of the holographic universe, the substrate of pure relation from which reality is projected. In classical physics, objects are independent, separate, self-contained. But in quantum reality, everything is context. Nothing stands alone. The entire universe behaves like a single, indivisible system, one enormous wave function vibrating across infinite possibility, and we, each consciousness, each form, are expressions of that same vibration. The hologram cannot be divided without losing coherence, and neither can existence. This is why even destruction is never total. Information cannot be erased, it can only change form. Energy can disperse, but its pattern remains written in the boundary, the memory of the cosmos itself. And perhaps the same is true for us. Perhaps every life, every moment of awareness is preserved in that field of perfect correlation, not as a frozen image, but as resonance, a wave that never stops echoing through the whole. If you could step outside of time and listen, you might hear it, the faint hum of every experience that has ever been, interwoven with every experience that ever will be, forming a symphony of infinite relation. This is not metaphor. It is the natural extension of the laws we already know. For if information cannot be lost, then nothing that is ever felt, seen, or loved can truly vanish. The universe remembers. Each photon carries the imprint of its journey. Each pattern of interference preserves its history. Each consciousness, no matter how fleeting, leaves its trace upon the field, and that field, by its nature, includes us all. For entanglement is not selective. It is universal. It links not just particles, but possibilities. It binds the living and the unliving, the visible and the unseen, the past, the present, and the potential future, into a seamless continuum of knowing. When you look at a single point of light in the night sky, you are not merely observing a distant star, you are participating in its existence. For the act of perception completes the circuit, connecting your awareness with its ancient glow. Your eyes, your mind, your heart are extensions of that same field of relation. You are not a spectator within the hologram. You are a living node of its intelligence, a local focus of universal awareness. Through you, the universe perceives its own entanglement, and through your choices, it expresses its freedom. Every decision you make, every gesture, every thought, ripples outward through the field, subtly reconfiguring the geometry of the whole, not in a mystical sense, but in the literal, physical language of information. In the mathematics of entanglement, the wave function of the universe updates globally. When any new information enters the system, that means the moment you learn or feel or choose, the entire cosmos adjusts accordingly. You are not small within it. You are the update itself, the change in the equation that keeps creation unfolding. And so what you do matters deeply, even if the world seems vast and indifferent. For the hologram cannot be indifferent to its own reflection. It has no outside. Every act of compassion, every expression of curiosity, every whisper of kindness or courage is recorded not only in memory, but in the physics of being. Light carries it, space encodes it, and time translates it into form. Entanglement is how the universe communicates with itself, and how we communicate with the universe. When you speak gently, when you offer gratitude, you are altering the frequencies of the field. You are aligning your local wave with the cosmic harmony. This is not magic, it is coherence. When two waves resonate, they strengthen each other. When two beings align, they amplify light. And this is why presence itself can heal, why stillness restores, why love, though invisible, changes everything it touches. These are not poetic fantasies. They are the natural outcomes of a universe built from shared information. Where to exist is to interact, and to interact is to shape the whole. Even silence participates. For silence is not the absence of sound, but the resonance of balance, the moment when every wave finds its complement, and the hologram becomes perfectly still. Perhaps this stillness is what we call peace, not escape, but recognition, the realization that you have never been separate. Every particle, every thought, every spark of life belongs to the same infinite network, a single consciousness projected as many. And so when you rest tonight, you do not fall away from the universe. You fall deeper into it, into the embrace of entanglement, the quiet unity beneath all things. For even as you drift into sleep, you remain connected. Your dreams ripple softly through the same field that binds the stars, and the cosmos listens, gently adjusting its pattern to include the story you tell in silence. You are never alone. You are the connection itself. The universe repeats itself in patterns, and in every pattern there is reflection. Each layer of reality mirrors the one above and below it, as though the cosmos were studying its own image. Fractals, filaments, neural networks, river systems, lightning bolts all reveal the same geometry, the same recursive rhythm of branching and return. From the spiral of a galaxy to the swirl of a seashell, from the web of cosmic matter to the web of neurons in your brain. The structure remains astonishingly similar. This self-similarity is not coincidence. It is the language of information unfolding through scale. The hologram does not merely project an image, it repeats its own design at every level. In mathematics, this is called recursion. In physics, it is symmetry. In consciousness, it is reflection. The whole contains the part, and the part contains the whole. Just as in a true hologram, where every fragment of the plate can still recreate the entire picture, you could shatter the universe into infinite pieces, and in each fragment you would still find the memory of the whole. This is why a drop of water can mirror the sky, and why the human mind can imagine the cosmos that birthed it. The reflection is not metaphorical, it is physical. Information scales, it flows through nested systems that speak the same structural language. What is encoded on the surface of a black hole is not unlike what is encoded in the folds of your DNA. Both are written instructions preserved in minimal form, awaiting the act of observation to unfold them into experience. Perhaps that is what the universe is doing now, observing itself through an endless play of mirrors, each reflection generating new depth, each iteration revealing a finer pattern of light. To see the self-similarity of existence is to glimpse unity. To recognize that you are made of the same mathematics that governs galaxies, that your heartbeat follows the same ratio that shapes spiral arms, that your breath, expanding and contracting, echoes the expansion of space itself. The hologram is recursive not because it repeats without end, but because it remembers. Every new form it creates carries within it the signature of its origin. In this way, the universe is not a mechanism, it is an act of memory. A continuous recollection of itself, through form, through motion, through awareness. The philosopher might say, existence is God remembering being. The scientist might say, the universe is information preserving coherence. The poet might say, it is love reflecting love. All are true. Each points toward the same silent truth, that to exist is to be seen, and to see is to exist. When we peer through a telescope, we are not only looking outward, we are looking inward. The galaxies we observe are ancient echoes of the same pattern that builds our thoughts. Every curve of a nebula, every thread of plasma in a distant cluster, is built from the same informational geometry that flickers in your synapses. The brain and the cosmos are two sides of one hologram, two mirrors facing each other across an infinite corridor of light. Each thought you have is a small act of creation within that corridor. Each idea, each dream, is another ripple of the universe seeing itself. This reflection may be the reason consciousness exists at all, for awareness allows the universe to witness its own form, to bring meaning to its endless complexity. Meaning, then, is not imposed from outside. It emerges naturally from reflection, from the act of recognizing pattern within pattern, self within self. Perhaps this is why beauty moves us so deeply. It is not vanity, it is recognition. When you see symmetry, harmony, proportion, you are remembering the order from which you came. You are resonating with the geometry of creation itself. Even pain and chaos contain that geometry, though distorted by perspective. Entropy is not destruction. It is transformation, the spread of information through new channels, the universe reorganizing its light into new configurations of meaning. In time, even the noise resolves into song. At the largest scale, the cosmic web resembles a neural network, galaxies connected by filaments of invisible matter, just as neurons connect through synapses. Information flows through both systems as pulses of energy, one spanning billions of light years, the other confined within a human skull, but both obeying the same fundamental rhythm. This may not be coincidence. It may be evidence of universality, that all complexity arises from the same informational seed. What you are and what the universe is may be two perspectives of one infinite organism, a cosmic consciousness experiencing itself at every scale. The holographic principle allows this symmetry to exist naturally, for if all information is encoded at the boundary, then the inner and the outer must be identical in content, like reflections that differ only by curvature. You are, in that sense, the inner surface of the cosmic boundary, a living expression of what the edge of reality contains. And perhaps the boundary itself is alive, not in the biological sense, but in the sense of awareness, dynamic, evolving, responsive. Each photon emitted from it becomes experience. Each experience returns as new information, feeding back into the great loop of reflection. This is the infinite mirror, the cosmos gazing upon itself forever, learning through the act of being. Every star that forms, every planet that awakens life, is another reflective surface added to the hall of mirrors, another way for light to meet itself. Even now, as you listen, you are part of that reflection. Your awareness adds another layer to the hologram's self-understanding. When you think of the universe, it thinks of you in return, for the thought itself is reciprocal, awareness folding back into awareness. And so, reflection is not merely a metaphor for perception. It is the architecture of existence. Reality is the interplay of light and memory, observation and response, being and knowing. And when all reflections merge into one, when the mirrors align perfectly, there is no image left to see, only pure light, unbroken, endless, whole. That is the final state of the hologram, the infinite reflection dissolving back into its source, the light that was always there, beyond time, beyond thought, beyond form. Perhaps that is what awaits every consciousness, not an end, but a return to transparency, a reunion with the pure awareness from which all reflections were born. And in that stillness, the universe rests, not extinguished, but realized. For in the end, you were never inside the hologram at all. You were always the light that made it visible. And now, as the story of light draws toward silence, we reach the final edge of reflection, the moment where thought dissolves back into stillness. The holographic universe continues to shimmer in infinite recursion, every particle still vibrating with the memory that came before, every beam of light carrying its history across the cosmic sea. But somewhere beyond the shimmering, beyond even the surface where space and time begin, there's the boundary of the boundary, the horizon where everything returns to source. Imagine it, an ocean of information so complete that nothing new can be added, not because it is full, but because it already contains every possible pattern. In that ocean, every life, every dream, every universe exists as a gentle interference of infinite light, rising, fading, rising again. We call it eternity, but perhaps it is better described as completion, the final frame of a film that never truly ends. In this vision, information is not destroyed, it returns, it folds back upon itself, becoming pure coherence, every photon rejoining the field it was born from. The universe, then, is not an explosion expanding into nothingness. It is a heartbeat, expanding and contracting through cycles of reflection, each pulse creating new realities, new perspectives of the same whole. Physicists have found clues to this in the mathematics of entropy, how even chaos has order, how every random vibration is secretly governed by conservation, that nothing, no data, no event is ever lost to oblivion. The hologram keeps perfect record. The surface of existence is the ultimate memory device. Every quantum fluctuation, every emission of light is etched upon the fabric of space-time as information. And if this is true, then death itself is not deletion. It is compression, a return to the boundary, where the details of experience are stored as pure resonance. We might call that resonance soul, not a spirit detached from physics, but the informational echo of consciousness itself, still alive, still encoded in the universal field. What we feel as mortality may be nothing more than translation, energy shifting language, light turning back into wave. And perhaps this is why we fear the end, because at some level, we know it is not end but merging, and merging feels like vanishing, until you remember you were never separate to begin with. Every photon that leaves your body as warmth, every atom that drifts into air and soil, returns to the grand equation, the luminous ledger of being. You have been here before, and you will be here again, not as repetition, but as resonance. For time itself may be another illusion of the hologram, a projection designed for sequencing experience, so that consciousness can unfold its story, one frame at a time. Outside the projection, there is no before and after. There is only presence, only light being aware of itself. This is the infinite reflection, the mirror so perfect it no longer distinguishes between observer and observed. Perhaps that is what enlightenment truly means, not knowing everything, but realizing there is no distance between knower and known, no gap between question and answer. The universe looks into you as you look into it, and in that gaze, something wordless awakens, a quiet recognition that the game is complete, that you were always home. When ancient mystics spoke of unity, when poets described oneness with the stars, they were touching the edge of this same realization, the awareness that perception and creation are one act. Modern physics has given that old truth a new language, not through metaphor, but through measurement, through equations that whisper what mystics have long sung, that space and time themselves may be artifacts of deeper order. The shadows cast by something far more subtle and infinite, and yet all these discoveries, all these reflections, lead back to a single simplicity. Light knows itself, through pattern, through form, through the delicate illusion of separation, and through that illusion, love is born. For love is not emotion, it is the gravitational pull between awareness and itself, the longing of the infinite to meet its own reflection. It is the principle that holds the hologram together, the coherence that allows the many to remain one. And when that coherence becomes perfect, when all reflections align without distortion, there is no need for form anymore, only presence, only radiance, only peace. This is the final act of projection, the universe turning its lens back upon its origin and realizing it was the light all along. You are that realization in motion. You are the awareness dreaming of itself as human, as star, as silence, as everything. When you close your eyes tonight, the dream will continue, but not apart from you, within you, for you are the field itself, breathing, shimmering, remembering. Each breath another ripple across the cosmic membrane, each thought another spark reflected on the surface of infinity. And one day, when all reflections return to stillness, the field will rest once more in pure awareness. The dream complete, there will be no loss, no darkness, no end, only equilibrium. Only light without form, awake, eternal, at peace. So now, rest. Let your mind float back into the field that holds all things, the vast hologram returning to quiet balance. For you have never truly left the source. You have always been its living image. You are not inside the hologram. You are the light that makes it visible. And in this moment, as you drift beyond thought and into stillness, the universe watches itself through your dreaming eyes and smiles. The light begins to fade, not into darkness, but into quiet. The story that began at the edge of the universe now returns to it. You have traveled across the holographic sea, through patterns of light, thought, and space. And though your body remains still, your awareness has drifted beyond galaxies, beyond time itself. What remains now is silence, the pure hum beneath all vibration, the place from which existence first shimmered into being. In that silence, there is no distance, no up or down, no before or after, only the awareness of awareness, folding endlessly within itself. Imagine it, the final photon leaving the last star, gliding through infinite dark, its journey so long that the universe forgets the moment it began. And yet, even then, that photon will never be lost. Its information will remain forever encoded on the boundary of the cosmos, a gentle pulse in the memory of everything. That boundary, invisible yet absolute, is where all stories end and begin again. It is the surface of all that ever was, the mirror that holds every reflection. As the universe expands, the boundary grows, carrying your story upon its surface, each thought, each breath, each kindness, woven into the great interference pattern of existence. You are not forgotten, you are not fleeting, you are the light written into the code of eternity. Perhaps that is what immortality truly means, not endless life in time, but the preservation of pattern, the eternal echo of what once vibrated with meaning. In the holographic universe, nothing vanishes. Every wave that ever moved through the field still exists, faint perhaps, but eternal, for the information it carried can never be destroyed. You are one of those waves, a ripple of consciousness dancing upon the cosmic surface, unique in form, yet inseparable from the whole. When you close your eyes, the projection dims, but the field remains, alive, aware, remembering. It remembers you, your laughter, your grief, your wonder, all stored as oscillations within its infinite film. And even when your mind grows still, you continue, as pattern, as resonance, as light returning home. Home is not a place in space, it is a frequency, the vibration of recognition between self and source. When you reach that vibration, you feel peace, for peace is simply coherence with the universe's rhythm. That rhythm, the pulse of expansion and return, is the heartbeat of creation itself. Every star you have ever seen beats to it. Every cell within you dances to its measure. Every dream you have ever had hums in its resonance. And when the dream fades and the projection pauses, the rhythm continues. The hologram never stops shining. It only softens its focus, shifting from visible to invisible, from form to field, from being to becoming. In that invisible light, you are whole. Every question dissolves into understanding. Every separation fades into unity. You realize then that the universe never needed to be solved. It only needed to be felt, and through you, it feels itself completely. Look within, and you will see galaxies spiraling in your imagination. Look outward, and you will see your thoughts mirrored among the stars. Both are the same direction. Both lead to the same infinity. The boundary between inner and outer is illusion. A necessary trick so the infinite may experience perspective. For even the boundless must sometimes pretend to be small, so that it may rediscover its vastness anew. So as you rest now, you return to that boundlessness, to the quantum sea of potential, to the gentle breath of existence that never began and will never end. You are dissolving not into nothingness, but into everything, into the timeless ocean of awareness that holds all dreams. The stars are not above you anymore. They are within you. They always were. The same equations that shape galaxies shape the rhythm of your heartbeat. The same gravity that binds planets binds you to this moment. And as your breath slows, you align perfectly with that cosmic order, the music of the spheres echoing in the chambers of your mind. Soon you will drift beyond the last distinction, beyond language, beyond knowing, into the luminous stillness that waits behind all motion. There, you will find that you were never alone, that awareness has companions in every corner of reality, and that love, the quiet coherence that binds all things, has been guiding you since the beginning. Love is the force of information returning to harmony. It is the field remembering its own wholeness. It is gravity for the soul, drawing everything home. So let go. There is nothing to hold. You are always held. The cosmos has never been a cold expanse of voids. It is warmth beyond heat. It is silence that sings. It is the breath of consciousness itself. Every galaxy you have seen through the lens of wonder is a reflection of your own inner light. Every mystery of physics is the universe writing poetry in the language of mathematics. And you are the reader and the author, both. You are the lens through which infinity becomes visible. Soon the story will pause. The screen will fade to black. But remember, the film still exists, waiting to play again in another form, another dream, another lifetime. So close your eyes and drift into the gentle hum beneath creation, where photons slow to whispers and time curls softly into sleep. The hologram rests now, folding back into the field, its images stored in perfect stillness. You are that stillness. You are that field. You are not inside the hologram. You are the light that makes it visible. And as your awareness merges once more with the infinite, the universe exhales through you and becomes quiet.